I was just mowing my lawn, minding my own business, when I noticed something that made my blood run cold. There it was, a thick black cable snaking out from under my house's main breaker box, buried clumsily in the grass, and heading straight across the property line, right towards Karen's place. My stomach dropped faster than a rock in a well. Was she seriously stealing my electricity? I just stood there for a second, the rumble of the lawnmower a distant buzz in my ears, and felt my chest tighten with a rage so immediate and hot it felt like a fire spreading inside me. I could barely breathe. What kind of person does that? I mean, really? I knelt down, my hand shaking as I pulled at the dirt-stained cable, tracing its path to the shoddy, amateur connection she'd made, a mess of electrical tape and exposed wire sparking faintly with a dangerous hum. The nerve, the sheer, audacious nerve of it all. It wasn't just the money, though my power bill had been insane lately. It was the blatant disrespect, the way she had just assumed she could help herself to what was mine, like a goddamn buffet. My mind raced, flashing back to every passive-aggressive comment she'd made about my new car, my well-kept lawn, or the simple fact that my life seemed to be going just fine without her input. Every sigh, every eye roll, every sharp little insult was now a piece of a puzzle, clicking into place to form a perfect picture of her entitlement. I wanted to march over there right then and rip that cable out of the wall, but a colder, more patient part of my brain took over, whispering that I needed to do this right, to make sure she couldn't squirm her way out of it like she always did. I pulled out my phone, took a dozen photos and a video of the incriminating setup, then slowly walked back inside, the scent of fresh-cut grass suddenly smelling bitter and hollow. I tried to be reasonable. I called the power company, expecting them to rush over, sirens blaring, but all I got was an automated menu and a promise to investigate the matter within 5 to 7 business days. 5 to 7 business days? Was she kidding me? Karen was running a small-scale power plant on my dime and I was supposed to wait a week? That's when I felt that familiar knot of helplessness twist in my gut, the kind of frustration that makes you want to scream until your throat is raw. I'd seen it so many times before. The little guy gets screwed by bureaucracy while the entitled person, the Karen, gets to continue their reign of terror. I watched from my living room window as she flounced around her immaculate yard, talking on her phone, utterly oblivious to the quiet storm brewing inside me. The sun beat down, and I felt the sticky heat on my skin, my shirt damp with sweat, but it was nothing compared to the slow-burning fire of my anger. That's when the second act, the real twist, revealed itself. I noticed a weird, rhythmic humming sound coming from her garage at all hours, a mechanical buzz like a million angry bees. It had been happening for weeks, but I just assumed it was a new hobby, maybe a wood shop. Curiosity, and a deeply felt need for revenge, got the better of me. I grabbed my binoculars and, making sure to stay out of sight, peered through a crack in her garage door. And there it was. Not a workshop, not a hobby, a full-blown, industrial-grade crypto mining rig, glowing with the heat of 1,000 tiny processors. The humming sound was the roar of dozens of powerful fans, all running 24/7. That smug which was draining a small town's worth of power just to chase some quick and easy money. And she was doing it with my electricity. My breath hitched in my throat. This wasn't just a petty theft. This was a complete and total rip-off. A grand-scale scam. My anger transformed into a cold, clinical resolve. I knew exactly what I had to do, and I wasn't going to wait another minute for a faceless corporation to help me. This was personal. I spent the rest of the day in my basement, consulting schematics for my house's electrical system, running calculations. I'd worked as a contractor for a while, and while I wasn't a certified electrician, I knew enough to know what I was doing, and what I was doing was not for the faint of heart. I was going to cut my power, completely and totally, right at the main, and for long enough to send her entire operation into a panic. I had to time it just right, wait until dusk, when she'd have her fans humming and her house lit up like a Christmas tree. And then, without warning, I pull the plug. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery streaks of orange and purple, I felt a calm I hadn't known all day. It was the calm before the storm, the quiet anticipation of a sweet, sweet victory. I heard her dogs barking next door, the distant sound of traffic, but all I could focus on was the singular task ahead. My hand, steady now, rested on the main breaker switch. I took a deep breath, and with a decisive click that echoed in the suddenly silent basement, I threw the switch to the off position. The house was plunged into immediate darkness. The familiar whir of my own refrigerator and HVAC system instantly gone, replaced by a deep, unnatural quiet. I held my breath, listening, and then it came. From next door, a high-pitched, panicked shriek, followed by the clatter of something heavy falling. Then a string of curses. The humming sound from her garage ceased. It was a silence more satisfying than any symphony. A few seconds later, I saw her silhouette at her front door, a ghostly figure looking desperately up and down the street. Her frantic movements told the whole story she knew. The jig was up. She rushed back inside, the door slamming with a furious bang, and I allowed myself a small, grim smile. My power was out, but so was hers, and I could just picture the look of absolute horror on her face as she realized her entire operation had just been shut down, probably frying a few $1,000s worth of equipment in the process. When the power company finally showed up, they found the illegal hookup right where I said it would be. Karen was out on the lawn, screaming at them, but they just shook their heads and pointed to my photos. They knew. The karmic debt was finally being paid, not with a quiet, meek phone call, but with a dramatic, undeniable shutoff that sent her entire greedy world into darkness. Justice, turns out, is a switch you have to flip yourself sometimes. And when you do, the silence that follows is the sweetest sound in the world.